right, so Pernell, how about ECU memories? We've been talking to those with Marcus and the old teammates, but what I mentioned that Wake Forest game. Like, do you remember that game when you had 24 tackles?
I do. I remember that game. Coach Rose, he was our defensive coordinator at the time, and he had said that I was on 3 out of 4 plays. I was in on the tackle 3 out of 4 plays. So he said that he never had a linebacker to grade out. Being in plays that much, he was like, I was all over the field, and I was even bringing the team water. Awesome. So that was pretty good, man. And anytime we played teams like that, Marcus probably can attest to this. It was another gear. Anytime we had an in-state rival, anytime we played a big time school, it was we shifted to another gear. The likes of Miami, Wake Forest, Carolina, Louisville. We also played Syracuse. Anytime we played Syracuse, anytime, even if, we played Army team wasn't as big as ours, but man, they just had a won't die spirit, man.
Yeah.
So you always had to kind of keep the pedal to the metal when you're playing against them. The Virginia Techs, Michael Vick. And I played against Al Clark and Pegues and Chiron Steph. So that was my first year actually playing. So that was interesting.
That Thursday night game when Vic came here,
that was in '99.
Man, the build up for that game was awesome. Like it was, and then the game didn't go so great, but man, I still remember walking up to the stadium that night and just the electricity that was in it.
I was actually here for that game.
We needed you on the field, Marcus. I don't know if you could have stopped. Actually, their running back had a big game that game. I don't know if it was Suggs. They had so many running backs back then. Yeah. But Pernell, if you had, I guess you carried that chip from your high school because you came to the right place for that, like the underdog mentality and everything. You're not a Carolina guy, I can tell you that. You came to the right place. But it sounds like you kind of carried that chip over to the college level, and obviously your teammates had it, and ECU Marcus has always had that chip on the shoulder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what we did, man. Coming from a small school, we felt like we always had something to prove. Even when we played 2A, 3A, 4A teams, when we scrimmaged against them, or if we had them on our schedule, that was just something that my mom and dad, they just kind of embedded that in me, not to back down from a challenge or a fight, be, held accountable for the decisions that you make, be responsible, but at the same time, make sure you work hard, outwork those who are in front of you. And that's how you'll be seen. And that's kind of how, I raise my children, listen, you outwork the person in front of you. And someone will see you and they'll recognize your work ethic, and, God, he will add the increase. So just understand that, working hard, it pays off. You may not see it, just like I didn't see it when I was here those first couple of weeks of actually training. I wanted to go home. I didn't actually see it, but now, I see it because things that people will stop going after because it may get hard. That working out, that running up the stadium, that snake in the stadium with weight vests on your back, and all of those offense versus defense competition, all those things that Coach Connors instilled in us. I see it now, even in the workplace, when work gets hard and, they add work on you, then, I know I can handle it. Because if I can go through that, then I know I can go through this. So we played like that. Even against Miami, we played like that. Mm-hmm. It didn't start out that way because, you had teammates that still didn't buy into the process and they still didn't believe. But I was able to be inspirational in the locker room during halftime. And I mean, it was so emotional during halftime. It was like, guys, they would cry, they were crying, and, they was just so passionate about what we wanted to do. We had already spent 2 weeks in South Carolina because of Hurricane Floyd, and then guys only had like 2 pair of underwear, and we trying to figure out what we need to do. Coach, we was cooking on the grill to try to keep the morale up, and then people have already done lost valuable things in their homes. Houses were flooded. It was just it was an amazing experience during that time, and that built our character. Because we beat South Carolina, I believe it was 21-3. Then we came back, couldn't even play in Dowdy Fick. We had to play at Carter Finley Stadium, and we did that. We saw the diehard fans that came, man, and it was live and it was loud, and man, adrenaline was flowing. And then we start out rough. And then around about the middle of the third quarter, it was a shift, and then it was lights out from there, man. So we banded together. We forgot about what was going on in Greenville, so we could focus on what needed to be done in Raleigh, and we took care of business. But that's the type of attitude that guys coming together, working hard, knowing what we did for those 2 weeks, building that camaraderie, building that fellowship, with the brothers. We were able to get it done. So
one of the greatest games and memories I have being at that. It was just there's so many different. They didn't make a 30 for 30 on it, really, because there's so many different stories. And I'm a Washington fan, Pernell. So in the mid 2000s, Portis and Moss were my guys, and I'm watching them play for Washington. I'm like, man, I watched them play live, and ECU beat these guys along with all the other all pros they had on that roster. Just crazy. And I believe my Conley Viking brother Jamie Wilson was in that game, played well. Keith Stokes had some just so many heroes in that game. It was awesome.
Awesome. You had they had Nate Webster, Dan Morgan, Reggie Wayne. They had Kenny Kelly.
Portis wasn't even their starter. Their starting running back went down, and I remember he came in. Was it James Jackson? Yep.
They had James Jackson, Clinton Portis, Al Payton. That was Walter Payton's son.
Who was the tight end? I know. Was it Bubba?
It was Bubba Franks.
Bubba Franks.
They had Benny Blades, Al and Benny Blades.
Wow.
They were stacked. They were stacked, awesome, man. I tell you, and like I said, man, the guys that we didn't care, who we went up against. It was kind of like David versus Goliath. Mm-hmm. But, we went in there. I think they were ranked maybe in the top 10. I might say they might have been ranked number 9. And, man, it was all out, man. It was, tooth and nail fight.
Did you celebrate on the field with all the crowd rush and everything? What'd you do right after the game?
I had to duck because the field goal post. they had tore the field goal post down, and I saw it coming. I was like, so I had to duck. I didn't have time to celebrate. But,
Good. Glad you got out of the way of that.
Yeah, it was an awesome feeling, man. I tell you.
You know what? That's a great experience for what we talk about Pirate fans in regards to we're a different type, man. Different breed.
Different breed.
They are a different type in regards to, and I really don't know what it's like for other teams. But when you see, a team goes from one venue to the next, you don't see as many. For me, I don't see it anyway. Many fans travel to games and things such as our Pirates fans do, did back then as well. And continue to do, but it was a great experience, I'm sure, man. And to see that goalpost coming down and seeing those faces.
Yeah, it was, man. I tell you, Mark Gellock, he was very inspirational. I remember I think he might have broke his ankle or something like that. And he kind of looked at the fans, and he was hopping on one leg. And he was like, let's go. And man, it was like we was about to go crazy.
Mark Yell, who went on to coach here at East Carolina. He was great to talk to.